Not talking about where they're
I
going. We're talking
know.
about spoilers for this half of the book, this first part, the movie, two-parter. We're assuming it's just a two-parter.
This technically isn't a spoiler, but I forgot to say it. I felt like just even with how long the movie is, it just went so fast.
Yeah, it had really good pacing.
It's just over all of a sudden. It's just like, oh my goodness.
I think
That was a long
I
movie.
think it slows down in the last hour, 45 minutes maybe, but it's not so bad that it drags.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when I talk about like why this movie feels unsatisfying, it's that
The part one
it's the last hour is the midpoint of a story, and that's not a great conclusion, but it's fine for the midpoint of a story.
It's so weird. It's so interesting, not weird. It's so interesting hearing how you review Dune as a part of a story and how you reviewed Lamb as part of a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting
The difference is Lamb.
It's different parts of a story.
The difference
Like,
is
like
Lamb
Dune
is
part
a
one.
contained thing, right? The
Yeah.
difference is that I think that's the point of Lamb.
Part 2 coming December 2022.
Yeah, I would.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
The other thing too with Lamb is you've explained it as it's chapter 2 of a 3-chapter book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Dune is chapter 1 of a 6-chapter book. Like, so it's really interesting kind of hearing the differences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually kind of cool.
It's
weird. It's an interesting perspective.
It's been a weird 2 weeks with those two movies.
You should probably watch like something like Fast and Furious. That's really just open
Palate
and
cleanser.
shut.
Just
Yeah.
my
palate cleanser is Lord of the Rings. So 12 hours. Let's go.
No, you need something bad.
And
and you don't like
bad
Fast and Furious. So it's perfect.
I was gonna say Lord of the Rings is a palate cleanser. Man, that just immediately makes my palate.
Whatever I watch after that's gonna suck.
Yeah, I can only like drive a Mercedes and eat steak for a week after I watch that. Is how I feel.
Not soup.
No.
How did you guys feel about Paul's visions?
I loved them because I felt like him. He doesn't know what the visions are saying either.
Mm-hmm.
So why should I? Felt like he had visions of the same thing that ended differently. It's showing that he doesn't understand his Bene Gesserit quasi Herdarache powers. Quasat Hadarat. Something like that.
Tyler?
I like them a lot.
Okay.
I think
if he was just like getting these visions and all of a sudden just be like, I know what these mean, they're crystal clear, I feel like that would be a disservice of learning how to understand them.
Right.
Well, I think the most interesting thing about his visions is I can't remember who he's talking to, but someone asks him, do the things you see in your dreams happen exactly as
it was
you
the
see them?
the mother Bene Gesserit leader lady.
Okay, and he says, no, not exactly. And how I took that is he's starting to kind of understand these dreams, I think, as the movie goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's starting to learn how to change the outcomes of what he's seeing. Is kind of how I understand what's happening as the movie moves.
Mm-hmm.
Is he started, because we're in spoilers, right?
Yes.
Because one of the interesting things is when he's seeing visions of the Freeman, or the Fremen. I always said Freeman. I always said it wrong. It made me so mad when the movie started and they said Fremen. I was like, gosh dang it, I've been saying it wrong the whole time.
Should have listened to the audiobook for a little bit.
Yeah, I should have. But no, like, the guy training him the ways of the desert is the guy he kills at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because ultimately what he needs to do is not learn the Fremen ways more so than just applying his ways to the Fremen. This is kind of what I think we're moving toward. But no, I like the visions. I thought they were cool. I thought they were kind of obscure and ambiguous, and I like that.
I thought they were, and Tyler, you can tell me how wrong I am because you know what's coming in part 2. I thought they were the one thing that probably could have made the third act of this movie a little more satisfying. If that was like the thing he learned how to do over the course of this movie was like, oh, at the end of this movie he realizes he figures out that a little bit more about those visions and how to use them to his advantage. And I never got that sense. I felt like it was just a little too ambiguous.
So I mentioned he has an arc.
Mm-hmm.
The arc I see isn't vision related. It's more the relationship that he has with his mother, his father, and fear.
Mm-hmm.
So he has his mother is leading him to become the one.
A Messiah.
And his dad is like, you're gonna lead House Atreides.
Mm-hmm.
I know you probably don't want to do it, but you gotta.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's just being pulled in these directions, and he's scared and doesn't know what to do. And by the end of the movie, he says, "No, I'm headed to the desert." And he's making his own path, and he's kind of just overcome all that, and he's gonna try and merge them kind of into one. So
Yeah.
that's the arc I see. I feel like the Visions is just more of a continuing story that'll be in part 2.
Yeah.
Understanding those.
Yeah. Makes sense. Cool.
Neither of you are wrong.
All right.
Yes! We
Hey,
both passed.
Is that possible? I'll take it.
Yeah, I think he. Yes.
Don't spoil
I don't-
anything.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the future.
The future.
I, despite the fact that kind of what I maybe hinted at earlier, in that I didn't love watching the House Atreides just get their butt kicked in one scene. I did love that scene. I think from a storytelling perspective, it was a little weak, but from it was a well shot sequence, and I loved the night attack and everything that transpired there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm actually going to ask Tyler a question that might spoil the book, so you can take off your headphones if you don't want to know.
I'm going to listen to your question first, and then...
They never show Gurney die?
Oh, yeah. I assume he's alive.
Is he dead, or is he a Harkonnen prisoner?
I will say him and Stilgar will definitely meet in the future.
Nice.
Awesome, because I wanted more Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
Gurney is very, very important moving forward. And that Dana asked me the same question. She's like, they never showed Gurney dying. What happened
I've watched
to him?
too many
And I was
superhero
like,
movies to understand.
If you don't see it on screen,
Yeah.
it's not
If
permanent.
you don't see it on
Gurney-
screen, or if they fall into water,
Yeah.
they'll show them going in the water.
I won't say where Gurney is, but yeah, he's coming back for sure.
Nice.
He will be around. He's important moving forward. And they make a comment. I was hoping it was going to be in this movie, but somebody says to Gurney, "Sing us a song" or something at one point.
Oh, right before they train.
And
instead of training, would you sing a song?
yeah, Gurney sings a song, and it's really good.
Let's go.
Yeah, I really love Gurney, and I think Brolin's a perfect cast for him. I think Gurney and Chalamet or Paul are the two best castings in this movie based on book appearances and the way their characters act.
Mm.
It's pretty crazy.
I'm curious what you thought about Liet Kynes, because that one's flip flopped.
It's a gender swap.
You're talking about the ecologist, right?
Yeah, the Judge of the Change.
Yeah, I think so.
The Herald of
Herald
of Change?
Not the Herald. Not the
scientist who
eventually helps
that was-
Paul get out.
Yeah.
No, that was fine. I honestly,
A minor enough character that it's not.
yeah, it's a character that you're like, okay, I get what you're here for. You're here to just tell me things and move my character forward.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the role in the book too. But no, it's a good change. I think of my cons, and that I didn't want to say earlier, I think the biggest issue I have is the conflict with the Fremen at the end of this movie, where Paul kills Jameis. Right, that's his name.
Yes.
He kills one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what this name is.
Yeah, that whole bit, I feel like it takes way longer, and it's been a year since I've read the book, but like it takes a lot longer for that to happen. Like I feel like there's a lot more going on prior to that event. Also, the challenge is not toward Lady Jessica. The challenge is against Paul.
Oh.
So it was just interesting that I don't know, because they hate Paul. Like they can't stand the dude.
They
And
think he's like a fake messiah.
yeah, I mean that's exactly it. They don't think that he's the one.
Lasan Al
They're like, nah,
Gaib.
dude.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, they say it in the movie.
Yeah.
Like they make the comment like, nah, this dude's faking it. Like he's not for real. And obviously he absolutely dismantles one of the Fremen's best fighters.
Yeah.
So
That was a great scene though,
see.
in terms of like I loved Javier, another someone we haven't talked about, Javier Bardem as kind of the Freeman leader,
Stilgar. Mhm.
Just like that moment when he's watching the fight and he realizes that Paul's got him beat, but he doesn't know our traditions.
He doesn't want to
He's
kill
never
him.
killed a man.
Yeah.
Like the complexity in his face, I thought was just, it was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
I agree.
Yeah, that scene is incredible. Because he asked the line, he's like, is he toying with him?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, he just doesn't. He's never killed a person. Rest assured, Paul's gonna kill people, lots of people. But no, like I wish we would have gotten more time with the Fremen and make that scene a little bit stronger. I think if you spend more time there, but again, it's slightly trimming down the book to make it within a runtime.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because if you don't end that movie with any sort of conflict, it becomes even more unsatisfying to some. Right. Like unsatisfying is a strong word, but I think you get what I'm saying.
I understand.
Yeah.
I don't. Explain it deeper, please.
I don't know. It's weird by way of spoilers because nothing in the movie is super spoilery to me. But I don't know I don't know. The book came out like
Yeah, I would
60
just say
years
that like
ago.
there's a large population that has not and won't read that book. So
Man, I have
Right.
I have so many questions that I'm just like, is this gonna happen? It's like could be important things, but also not. Like, is he gonna use the voice on a sandworm? Like, go eat them. Rare.
Oh man, the worms. Did you guys like the way they looked?
Yeah, I thought they looked cool.
Mm-hmm.
I
I liked the dude riding one at the end. That was crazy.
I also am really fascinated with the Fremen's relationship with them, how they are not just
It's like
a part of
god
the
to them.
ecological planet. It's not part of their ecosystem. They are something holy, something religious to them, and I find that fascinating. And I assume we'll have. You don't say that unless it's important for part 2, which
I cannot wait for you guys to see part 2 and just see how this whole thing ends.
I'm
man.
now pretty committed to actually reading this because I don't think we're getting a part 2 for like 4 years. So
here's what I'll say: the end of the book wraps up so fast. Like it's frustrating how fast the book ends. But man, leading up to the final conflict of this book, it's going to be one of the coolest. It's going to be one of the coolest shots I think you'll ever see in a movie.
I know
it's going to be just
Villeneuve
insanely cool.
Has even talked? He's like, I got all the world building out of the way, and we can just focus on the big giant cinematic experience for the second one. And he keeps talking about how excited he is to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, if they don't make that movie, I'm gonna lose it.
What are we?
Yeah.
So we've had some under the table kind of like, if you've seen the end of Dune 1, you know what the answer is if we're making a sequel. That's not a confirmation. Sorry.
So here's my thing.
explicitly state Dune chapter part 2 is coming out. Like I say,
I feel like when the pandemic decision happened for 2021 and HBO Max and Warner Bros, they just said you're gonna get Dune 2.
That is
as part of the deal.
Yeah. It's a little bit like a Denny. We're sorry. Like, we know this upset you. You're getting Dune 2.
And I think they're even just like, it's not going to make as money as it could because pandemic and HBO is going to take that away. Dune 2 is going to happen. We're going to give it to you. And I think that's like why James Gunn is probably going to get more projects and all those other directors who had to make that sacrifice.
Kind of deal with that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Patty Jenkins.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance. I think it's safe to say that Dune 2 is happening.
It made $40 million, which I feel like is really good for, first of all, a sci-fi movie. People don't like to go see sci-fi movies for some reason, which is really annoying. And a pandemic, people are starting to go more, but then also released on a streamer on the same weekend.
Yeah.
Like, it's already made $200 million worldwide.
Question: do you guys, and I know the answer, do you guys know how much this movie cost to make?
Is it like 165?
I'm gonna say in between $1 and $300 million.
It was 165.
Okay, I thought I had seen that somewhere.
Nailed it.
So, like,
yeah,
it's
pretty small budget for a movie that big.
It's less than Blade Runner was.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Wow.
I think Blade Runner was like 170. It's less than the Suicide Squad was.
I wonder if this is a little bit like, man, the problem is something like the Knives Out sequels, right? Got this huge check.
Oh, never mind. Blade Runner was 150.
Okay.
I'm dumb.
To make these two movies, and we don't know how much is going to each, and how that all gets divvied out. I'm wondering if they kind of behind closed doors before they even produced the first one, and they agreed to 2 movies, because you don't make this movie this way if it's going to be just one movie. Obviously, 2 movies was the plan from the beginning. They said, hey, we're going to give you a total budget of $420. Say $420 million. How do we want to split that, right? And my guess is that it's just going to take less to make this first one because it's not as action heavy. Mm-hmm. Obviously, still tons of CGI, but
surprised with how much action was actually in it.
Yeah,
I was
happy.
I was expecting a lot of conversations, and then I got a lot of violence.
Dude, I just seriously, man, I can't wait.
Well,
for part
you're
2
gonna
of
have
this.
to, and so this is the other it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, we're gonna even if we do get a part 2, when does production start on that? When does it come out? Because of pandemic,
2024.
I don't know if it. I wonder if it's 2025.
2023.
They should just take as long as they need to make it.
I don't disagree, but I do think the longer you wait,
man, Michael Bay made an ambulance movie in like 3 weeks.
I think the longer you wait, the less. And I know it's Dune and people get excited for it, but I think in the general public, the less excited people will be for that.
But they'll have the show off.
That's true. They will have that show to kind of be a little bit of a filler, even if it is a prequel.
Right.
Prequel.
Right.
They'll keep it in the zeitgeist.
Let's be real. The people want to know more about the Bene Gesserit. That's like a huge thing that people are like, man, I'd really like to know more about those. Well, you're gonna get it.
Well, and honestly, if they can do that, it's a little bit of a MCU move that I don't really love. But if they can do some of that storytelling in there, they don't have to spend as much time expositioning in part 2 about things, because hopefully people will have, they can keep it a little bit higher level in the movie and save that time to do
like a little head in the clouds.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, man, I know I keep saying it. I just am really excited to see everybody's response to the part two. I just think there's the ending to this story. Thinking of it from a visual medium is just going to be mind blowing. I'm just so excited about it.
This dude
what
is
could
such
be
a
on these
freaking
pages?
What a tease.
I'm sorry. I don't know. You should read the book. I really think, and knowing like the second book is called Dune Messiah, like, and why it's called that, it's just so. This is such a rich story, and I really do hope WB is willing to be patient and explore this, because I think this Dune is considered the most important science fiction novel ever written. Like, it's that for a reason.
Yeah.
And so I think they need to take their time and make this thing right. Like, let Denny do it. He obviously has a huge passion for
It's
it.
his dream project.
Yeah, this is what Denny's effectively lived his whole life for. Like, and he's a great visual storyteller. Let him tell the story. He's got a great cast. You got people who are on board. Back up the Brinks truck and let's make this thing happen. Seriously,
Start a GoFundMe.
I'll drive on that
It's
Brinks
so
truck.
funny because like everybody had recommended Dune to me, and I always was like, yeah, I'll read it eventually. And then I read it, and I was like, okay, I get it now. Like I get it. I understand. When there's 3 appendices in the back of this book, 300-page appendix to tell me what each word in this universe means, like this thing is so carefully crafted. It would be a disservice to not put the same attention to these movies.
Yeah, and they clearly do have a lot of attention to detail, and it is just, again, convincing people who sign the checks to sign a few more.
To keep signing.
I think it's worth it. I think it's one of those things that if they don't, in 20 years they'll kick themselves for it, and if they do, I think in 20 years they'll look back. People will be like, "Oh yeah, remember 2025 Oscar-winning movie Dune Part 2?" I think there's that potential, right? There's that, like, even if it's not just purely a financial thing, there's a cultural thing that they can really capitalize on. It's a little bit like Star Wars. You don't just not make a Star Wars. Like, yeah, maybe you take your time and you do it right, and you don't pump them out every year, but like, it's a big enough property, it's a big enough cultural thing that you don't just not make it.
Yeah, and one of the things too with this movie's release that I realize it even more so tonight. I didn't realize how much of a heart I have for this book.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Like,
read it for the first time a year ago, and you're
like, I freaking
He's a
love
zealot
this
over
story.
here.
Like, there's just so it's
Fremen
so
zealot.
weird.
He's
Like,
start a holy war for the book.
honestly, I would definitely not want to be a Fremen if it were me. I don't
We're
know,
gonna see
man. They
Tyler
kill each
walking
other
down
for their water.
starting a Church of the Dune. Church of the Spice.
Church of the Shai Halud. The Shai Halud. What are the worms called?
We'll be getting pamphlets on our door.
Listen, I'm in.
I would want to be the worm. That's who I'd want to be.
Nice. Well, we have gone really long today. We're going to save our Fanbox questions for next week. So we want to thank you guys. There were a number of Fanbox questions submitted this week. And we will get to those, but it will be next week because we're already sitting at an hour 50. So before we hit 2 hours, let's say goodbye. And we hope you enjoyed Dune. Let us know over on social media or in the comments.
That Muad'Dib was so cute. I just want to hold it.
Little kangaroo mouse.
It's the mouse. It's the Muad'Dib.
It's a kangaroo
This guy's
mouse.
like barely started the book and he's already speaking all of the languages. This guy's crazy.
Dude, I love
Let me go to my appendix and read to you the definition of the Muad'Dib.
I love the language they have in the movie.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I think it's incredible, like just the crazy letters and everything. And
the Muad'Dib, the adapted kangaroo mouse of Arrakis, a creature associated in the Fremen Earth Spirit mythology with a design visible on the planet's second moon. This creature is admired by Fremen for its ability to survive in the open desert.
Nice.
And you see that it like wipes its ears and drinks the water.
Yeah.
And I was like,
don't waste nothing.
The appendix in this, the definitions in the back is called Terminology of the Imperium. There's cartographer notes on the map.
Nice.
This is crazy. It's insane.
When I watch it again, I might just hold the glossary, and if there's ever a word that I'm like, I don't know that one, I'll just flip through it. Because there's even still some lingo that they use, and I'm just like, man, I don't know what that is.
But I appreciate how they don't necessarily shy away from it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we've seen with the acceptance of more foreign films in America that it's just like, it's okay to just say it in the native language and throw up subtitles. Do that more.
The first thing in the movie was subtitles. Before the logos.
Yep, that's right. Well, okay, let's get out of here. Thank you all for watching and listening this week, episode 222. We will be back next week. I hope. Hopefully Tyler's back next week in person. We can chat about some more stuff. We can answer some fun Fanbox questions. And until then, we'll see ya.